Alrighty, let's dive right into it. So one of the trades that we actually took yesterday was POAI. As you can see, it's the one right here on my screen. POAI, nice 5-minute flag over this pre-market pivot over here. Also lining up with the EMA and the VWAP. We had that high volume push right here. Low volume pullback into our 57, 58 area pivot. As we were coming into this pivot, I was getting long, but I didn't know if I was getting filled because TD was having some lag and my orders were kind of just filling right here. And a couple minutes later, I pull up my phone, figured out that I was, filled in the position, and ultimately it did fail. I do feel like the TD lag kind of caused this to fail in some kind of way because, other people were probably dealing with the issue at the same time, and everyone didn't really know what was going on here. So this was a nice flag right here. However, it did fail. Had a lot of potential to open up and run up all the way into the 90s, but we got hit with a bad TD lag. Let me get this over here. And then the next trade that we had on the day, sorry, I have a thread, I'm just going to pull it up, that way I can go down my thread. Next trade we had on the day was Soon, S-O-U-N. I'm sure you guys all remember this 5-minute flag that we traded. At the time we had our nice high volume push up, nice stair step effect. And then we had this candle right here come all the way down into this 285 pre-market pivot. And at the time it was on really low descending volume. Buyers ended up stepping in off of this candle and slurping it right back up into threes. Unfortunately, we did have a massive seller up there in the I believe it was 295, 298 area, and that's where we were actually taking a lot of our profits. Let me see exactly where we were taking profits. So we added Soon 289, we took profit on Soon 295, we took profit on Soon 298, we took more profit on Soon at 298 because there was a really big wall. I actually have a picture of that wall right here. So we had a 163 wall at 299, so a really big seller, stopping us from moving any higher, and we were selling into that seller because we felt like it wasn't going to work out. So we took more off 295, took more 298, took more 298. We took more 292 as it was coming down kind of into this area just to mitigate our risk. So something I like to do is, when you feel like that name is not going to do what you want it to do and it starts pulling back the way it does, I like to start scaling out anything that I do have that's in the profits just so I can get what I can out of the trade in case I have to close that last piece out for a loss or break even. So in this case, I felt like I was going to close this last piece out at a loss or a break even. So what I did was I started scaling out anything that I had in profits, and then I left some on in case we did get that curl. We did end up getting that curl, but I ended up stopping my remaining right here at $2.89 for break even on my last piece. Just judging off this candle, the way we came in with that really high volume right over here, that's what kind of threw me off. I was like, okay, you know what? We just got a high volume sell off on the 1 minute. We just confirmed our EMA 9, also 295 pivot as resistance. This thing's probably going to come down. It's we did get a little move out of the flag, not what we wanted. But it is what it is. Sometimes you just have to play the range and take what it can give you. But it was a really nice setup off of this 285 pivot. Next trade that we took was PTPI. PTPI was a really nice 5-minute flag. Hopefully my executions will pop up. I don't know why they're not popping up. Should be right down here. There we go. So PTPI, really nice 5-minute flag right here, right over this pre-market level, also VWAP. So let me kind of drag this up because this name did go for a nice run. So PTPI, you guys could see this kind of micro pivot right here of $2.48, $2.50 right here. This was the pre-market level. You could see 250 was support, ended up turning into resistance before it was resistance. So we kind of pushed up into this 5-minute wick to body zone. So I'm going to go ahead and redraw the zones just so you guys can see how I do them. Literally wick to body, double tap, take the bottom right point, add a extra 2 days on it. It'll drag it across the screen. We come up into that area, we end up selling off. As we're selling off, you can clearly see the 5-minute flag that we formed. Right into the 250 pivot, also right into the EMA 9 and VWAP. Also, now that I see this, we kind of did come into this lower pivot here of 238s. So that would have been the pivot to watch. I did start adding off the 250 pivot though. You could see we had really nice high volume stair step up, exactly what you want to see in a flag. Then we had that beautiful stair step down with a lot of bidders, obviously because of these lower wicks that were left on the chart. We got long on PTPI at, what was it? We got long PTPI at $2.49, risking $2.40. We did come a few cents below our risk, but hey, that's no problem to me. We did have a pivot down here, also EMA 9, also VWAP. We did take some profits off into this move. So let me go to the 1 minute, show the scales. So we got a couple ads down here off of this pivot. We end up getting a nice push into 260s, we peel some. We get a nice push into 270s, we peel some. And then we get a massive push out of nowhere all the way into 310s. And I just decided to sell full right here because of the way that this candle was kind of so dramatic. It just had a massive pop all the way from 270 to $3.25. I got out 310 and I didn't look back. However, one thing I do regret was not leaving the runners on this name, because we did kind of hold this, if you want to call it supply, we did kind of hold this zone perfectly. And then this is when we really went for a massive run all the way to $8. So moving forward into the next week, what I'm actually going to do is, if I see that perfect flag set up, I am going to leave runners on the position just so we can kind of see what happens. You know, if we have to stop out of the runners, it is what it is. But if we catch a move like this, it'll be so worth it. So that's one of my game plans for next week. I want to leave runners on certain names that I think are going to open up. And let me look at the daily and see if there's anything kind of special about this daily. So I know Abe asked what makes a good daily, and this would be a great example. So first of all, you have a bottomed out daily. There's really nothing going on. I'm sure there was a news catalyst, so let's make sure we have news. 414. Yeah, so nothing I can see, so that's completely fine. Sometimes you'll get, not seeing any common specific news to justify the price action. So sometimes you'll just get volume surges. This is what it is. Maybe a sympathy, but normally a good daily is like this. So you have a really bottomed out daily. Like how much lower is this gonna go? It's probably already made 52 weeks lows, whatever. And then you have your day one move on really high volume. So that's a really good daily. Normally what I look for in a daily is I like to look for chart patterns. I like to look for volume. I like to look for bottomed out dailies. I like to look for dailies that are starting to curl, maybe over the EMA 13, also maybe over the EMA 9. I like to look for dailies that are over the EMA 200. As you can see, PTPI was, it did rip through it, but it did end up selling off and coming below that EMA 200. So if we can get over the EMA 200, we might be able to go for another run. As you can see in the past, kind of goes for runs, has a big dump, goes for another, big dump, goes for another. So definitely something still watching. But as far as the daily goes, look for volume, chart patterns, anything with news, bottomed out dailies, things that are starting to curl. And then most of all, whenever you're trading these small caps, you want to make sure the daily has range. What I mean by that is you want to make sure, like, you're looking left, you see this name was, down here at, what is this, $6, and it ripped all the way to 10. Over here, we were down here all the way at 11. We ripped all the way to 17. So that's range. If you see a daily and it's kind of consolidating and you see, okay, we usually rip from $1 to, I don't know, $1.60, and then we sell off. Or we rip from $1.20 to $1.90, then we sell off. That's not a lot of range. So you want to make sure these dailies have a lot of range. You want to look left and see, okay, hey, this name opened up this time. It opened up at 17, and it had a run all the way in the 30s. This daily has got range, clearly. You can clearly see it, right, guys? It's literally just always running up here and there. So range is a really big thing. Next trade we took on the day was EXPR. EXPR was very simple. A couple 5-minute flags that I noticed in the morning on really low volume, but I did like the setup. There were bidders on the tape, which is why I was comfortable adding. We were also over EMA 9, also over VWAP. We did have this pivot over here of 83 cents that we needed to clear. I was very aware of that, and I was, I had my position right around that. So this name over here, we added EXPR. We added, I think it was 81 cents. Let me find it. Yeah, EXPR added 81.5, risking 80 cents. So we came all the way down to 0.84 8004. So our stop loss wasn't hit, literally right above it. Really nice 5-minute flag right here. See if we can kind of show you guys the volume. You know, it's probably a lot smaller. So we have our nice high volume push, kind of consolidating lower volume VPA here. We get a nice, I mean, they tried to get a high volume push here. We did take some profits off here into 83s. And then we did get another flag look right here. Then we finally curled through the 83-84 pivot. We took some more in front of 84. Then we finally got some volume to start coming in here. We took more profits into 88. And then we took more profits into 90. And then later into the close, I actually closed my runners out because I did take a nap. So I woke up and I closed my runners out right here at 88 cents. But overall, really good, you know, 2 5-minute flags right here that we were able to add into and profit off of. They were also right over kind of this pivot over here. So we did have little like micro pivots. We had our initial high of day right here, right when we opened. We kind of held over it on the 1 minute, right along with VWAP, EMA 200, and EMA 9. So, you know, multiple things giving us that signal of, hey, this can possibly put a move in. Of course, it being a lower volume name, it could have dumped, it could have sold off. But like I said, I was comfortable in entering this one the way I did because I seen those consistent bidders on the tape. And there wasn't really any heavy sellers. And every time there were sellers, we started chipping, and clearly, you know, the bulls won and we got the move that we wanted. So that was a really nice trade there on EXPR. INPX, this was a trade that I held overnight. This was that massive runner all the way into 90s. I recapped it the other day. If you guys missed the recap, you guys can find it on my YouTube. I'll also leave a link down here for you guys. But very nice. I added 82s. I was risking 74s. Took some profits here when I could because I am on TD. I can only sell after 7 a.m. I did take some profits here in the 130s. And then I did sell the rest of my position out near the $1 and I believe it was 10-cent area right over here. Overall massive wins. I think it was over 100% when we were at 184. So, you know, really cool wins there. CNSP, this was a 15-minute flag that I traded into the close. Go ahead and show you that. So here's our 15-minute flag. You guys can see really high volume push, nice low volume pullback all the way into our 280 pivot. I told you guys in chat that I was watching that 280 pivot. Right when we came down into that pivot, I started slapping it. I added some 289, scaled most into the push here into 310. So immediately as I add, we get a nice slurp. We get a nice pop right back into 310s, peeled some off into 310s. Peeled some more off into 311, 312 right here. We did have a high of 320. And then we did come down here. I did add a little bit more because I was scaling out heavy because, you know, there wasn't really much volume here. It was pretty whippy. So I did end up adding just a little more in. And then I ended up closing those out right when we got that 280 break right here. And we really started to confirm it as resistance. Overall, really nice trade to end the day. I thought it was really cool that I was able to catch this. And then we did have this nice 5-minute flag right here. Showing you guys it on the 1 minute, but we did have this nice 5-minute flag here right over this what is this 315 316 pivot right here. Also that gap level from intraday. I'll go ahead and jot a line for you guys. You guys can see how we held that pivot nicely. I added the flag here at 317, took profit into 332, and then I sold my last piece at 759.58 into the bid at $3.29 right here. So right before the close, I managed to, you know, squeeze this little trade in, so that was pretty cool. OBLG, another one from the after hours. Traded it right off of this pivot over here, right off the 345, 340 area pivot. We had a nice massive higher high here. We came in for our retest as after breaking over this 345 area. You guys can see it was clearly resistance over here. We finally got the break over here, and then we had our run. So all I was doing was waiting for the retest. You could have entered here, or you could have waited for the pullback and consolidation and entered over here. I got long at $3.46, risking $3.35. We hit a low of $3.37, so my risk wasn't hit. And then out of nowhere, we get this little pop here into 370s, and I just sold out completely. I didn't even try scaling out. Right when we got that pop from 340s into 370s, I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna take this, and I'm gonna go, you know, do whatever I want to do. Did end up putting a nice move into 460s, and this is what falls back onto what I said earlier. Got to start leaving those runners, because lately the market has been giving us these moves, and if we leave these runners, we'll be able to profit so much more. So gotta start leaving these runners, because I left a lot on the table here. But at the time, sometimes you're gonna be happy with the gains and you just sell out, and then you look back at it later like, shit, I should have left those runners. So sometimes it is what it is. But moving into this new week, if we still get this continued momentum, I will be leaving some runners. MRAI, this will be the next trade on the day. We did have a 5-minute flag. I believe it was a 10-minute flag when I noticed it. Yeah, right over here. So we have a nice reclaim of VWAP, also reclaim of this 266 pivot, and we start having this 10-minute flag. You guys can see it. High volume push, nice stair step up, nice volume divergence. Then we get a low volume pullback into this pivot, also EMA 9 and VWAP, also previous pivot over here, which is initial high day, right around 255. I get long here $2.70, and then I start scaling into this upper trend line. And the reason I was scaling into this upper trend line is because there was a lot of sellers up here. So I got long 270, started peeling 277, started peeling 280, peeled some more into 285, peeled some more here into 280s. And then ultimately on this candle, as we started coming down, I sold out on my remaining. Because we did put in a higher high here, and then we put in a lower high here, and that made me think, okay, we're not going to break over this trend line. Also, the sellers were massive here. They were really trying really hard to keep this down. And then I actually wrote in the Discord, I'm out on MRAE here, not liking the action, should have ripped into $3 already. And that was my thought on it. I thought we should have cracked this trend line already with as many buyers as we had coming in this, and I thought we should have made that push into threes and started going parabolic. I didn't like the action. I took it off. We did end up curling here into 290s, and then it ended up flushing from 290s all the way into 260s. So I think I dodged a bullet pretty well there. So that's how I traded MRIA for the 10-minute flag. And then the final trade was that POAI trade. That was the only red trade for yesterday. So there was 8 trades that we called out yesterday. 7 of them were green and 1 of them were red. Overall, great day. A lot of momentum. Got to start leaving those runners for the future. And then I did want to just touch base a little bit on how I scale out, because I did get some questions about it. So I do want to go to a name like PTPI. So when I scale out of trades, I'm normally scaling in front of resistance areas. When I am scaling in front of resistance areas, it's usually a significant level. So for example, I know you guys see this chart. I'm not really scaling in front of significant levels, but these levels will sometimes act as resistance. So we have this 266 pivot here, and you guys can see as we come into it, it kind of was previous support and also previous resistance. So if I drag it all the way here, you guys can see it was kind of resistance. Now it's support. Now I'm expecting it to turn back into resistance because we are below that level. And so that's why I took some profits in front of it. Also the EMA 9, guys. When I'm going in a trade and we're pulling up into the EMA 9, I will sometimes scale a piece, because the EMA 9, sometimes it's going to act as support and sometimes it's going to act as resistance. Sometimes it acts as resistance and you break above it. Sometimes it acts as resistance and you end up selling off. So the reason why I sell some into the EMA 9 is because if we do act as resistance and we end up curling back down, I want to lock some of the gains in. And then as well, always the micro pivots. And then you guys know, always into high of day or new high of day, you always have to peel some off just in case you do get rejected. You do want to secure and protect those profits that you did have on the day. I do want to find a little better example because this one was kind of quick. Sometimes as well, if I'm trading a penny name, for example INPX, if I have some size on this, for example this trade I had some size, I'll literally peel off every single penny. And that's literally what we were doing on INPX. So I don't know if you guys remember the alert, but we literally added 46, we literally peeled 49, we peeled 50, we peeled 52, we peeled 53, we peeled 54s, we peeled 60s. So every time this thing just raises literally a penny, like even over here, like we went 62, we went 63, we went 64, 65, 67 here, 69 here, into 70s here. So if I have some size on a penny stock, like literally in the cents, every single time we get a penny higher, I'll literally scale. Sometimes if there's big walls, I'll scale at the 0.5s because those sometimes will give you a good gain. But overall, into any kind of resistance levels, I like to scale. And then if there is a big wall on the tape, always like to scale into that big wall, of course, just in case that seller does decide to dump into the bid and end up washing out the bid and bringing the price down lower. That's all I really had for this end. Just a quick recap on the trades that I took yesterday. Yeah, with that being said, that's pretty much it on my end.